Good afternoon, everyone. This is Carly Thompson. I am with the Idaho Virtual Academy, and I am really excited to see all of you here today. I am really looking forward to this session, and I think it will be beneficial for you, and I hope that you'll be able to take away some wonderful strategies to help your students in writing. We're going to discuss some key strategies in helping your students with state testing preparation. And before we begin with that, I would like to just highlight a couple of things that I want you to pay attention down here. We do have, if you want to click on these links, they should be hot links to take you to our Gifted Resources, 21 Gifted Resources website that's on Facebook. If you would like to join our Facebook following in Gifted Resources and like that, we would love for you to join us. And I like to always put our trainings that we have done on this site for people to be able to refer to, and it's a great place to be able to, oh, the links are not working. Okay, let me go ahead and pull them in for you really quick here. And like I said, it's a great place for you to be able to connect with other people that are also interested in the same thing you are with gifted education. So let me hurry and pull those up, and I will put them into the chat box for you. Okay, this first, and then the second one that I was sharing with you is our website that has our past recordings that we've done with parent trainings that we've been doing for years. And there's some wonderful resources there that I would like you to be aware of. We talk about lots of different things with hypersensitivity in gifted kids. We talk about perfectionism issues, underachievement issues. So there's a lot of wonderful resources there in the parent recordings that we've done on the recorded ALP parent training. So I encourage you to check those two things out, bookmark them, and look for them later on after our session today. So, okay, I have a question for you guys. I would like to know, oh, you're saying the Facebook link isn't working. Let's see. You know what? Maybe go ahead and I think you need to log in first to Facebook for it to be able to work for you. And if not, when you get into Facebook, you can do a search for that exact sorry, I'm going from page to page for that exact name, Facebook, or go into 21 Gifted Resources, and you should be able to find it from there. Okay. Excellent. Jessica's saying it's working for her. So, like I said, maybe do a search for it. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, you guys. I want to know, first off, I have a question for you guys, and I'd like to ask you, why did you come to this session today? Please take a minute, type it into the chat box, and share with me what's your purpose to coming to this session today. There is a lot of pressure out there for students. There's a lot of pressure for parents and for teachers to better understand the standards and what would be expected of your child. And I just would like to see kind of the feel out there of what you guys are wanting to gain from this session. So go ahead and feel free to take the mic or to be able to go ahead and type that into the chat box and share, please. Okay, you guys have got some great comments here. Interested in learning more, helping your children, thought you had to come. Yes, you don't have to come, but we are really glad you came. Maybe your teacher did, maybe your guys' teacher did tell you had to come to this, and so, every state's got their own requirements, and I'm just glad that you're here. So, wonderful. Okay, well, I hope you guys are able to leave today with feeling like you'll be able to teach some skills to your children that will better prepare them for that state testing and preparation. Okay, the strategies that I'll be sharing with you and that will help with your students, they basically are research skills and your college readiness skills. These strategies will help them become better writers from elementary learners all the way through high school. So make sure you should have some paper beside you there, a pencil, so you have some things available to take some notes. A little bit about myself. I've been an educator now for 14 years, and I've been working with gifted students since 2006. And I have an endorsement in gifted education, kindergarten through 12th grade, and have been teaching virtually now for 10 years. I want to introduce you to my dear friend and colleague, Heather McKenna. She will be facilitating the chat for us today and is wonderful about answering questions. So please be sure to feel comfortable using the chat box today. And she is a little bit late logging in today. She's logged in, but she's stepped away from her computer. She should be coming in shortly here. The President of the United States is in Boise, Idaho today, and she wanted to see Air Force One land, and so she said she might be about 10 minutes late logging in. So we'll excuse her with that. I think that's a good excuse. Okay, let's go ahead and begin. The new Common Core standards have been sweeping the country, and most of the nation has adopted these new standards. And with that comes the type of testing and higher order thinking skills that students are needing to show they know the content. Many states have changed from the traditional fill-in-the-blank answers, with having the students write and needing to compare and contrast information and demonstrate that they truly understand the content. And so I would like you to take your highlighter tool and just go ahead and take your pointer tool, actually, and put your tool over the top of your state where you're logging in from today. I'm down here in the southeast portion of Idaho, and Heather's a little bit further over here near the middle of Idaho. And so I just like to get a feel of where you're at. Now, some of you, if you by chance are in a state that the state has not adopted these Common Core curriculum standards yet, this session will still be beneficial to you because, like I said, it's going to be skills that will help your students to be better writers that you can help to teach them. So there's been a notion out there that the Common Core standards don't require any special differentiation for the gifted students. And with the implementation of the standards, some say it may even be that there's no longer a need for gifted ed services since the standards are already so high. However, even though the standards are strong, they are not sufficient to accommodate the needs of most gifted learners. Some students will make it through all the standards before high school is even finished. So what then? There is a need to enrich the standards with our gifted children by ensuring that they are open-ended opportunities to meet the standards through multiple pathways, critical and creative thinking opportunities, and real-world problem-solving contexts. All of this will require deliberate strategies among gifted educators like yourselves out there who are working with gifted children to ensure these opportunities. So as a parent, you need to be in the know and where you are working with these students one-on-one. It's very, very important. Okay, now I encourage you guys to check with your local state and find out what type of testing will take place with your student. Many states will be doing a computer adaptive test with multiple choice questions, and there will also be a performance-based task in the math and in the language arts and in the reading where students will have to write out their answers instead of just filling in the blank. Now, the cool thing that your kids are already way ahead of the game. Did you guys know that the K-12 curriculum has been aligned with the Common Core standards for years now? It's true. And I know that a lot of my families that I've shared that with, they're like, really? I didn't know that. But yes, they have been aligned with the Common Core standards for years. And anyone who looks at our curriculum can see and attest to the quality of what your students are being exposed to. We have a fabulous curriculum for our kids. But the other thing, too, is K-12 is really on top of it because this year they've incorporated similar math and language art assessments that are almost identical to what your students will see on their state tests this spring. These are currently in your guys' curriculum and are labeled the critical skills assignments for your ELA and the extended real-world application problems for your math. And so if you come across these, I know I've had some families say when they get to them, oh my word, how do you expect us to do these? These are outrageous, these are huge, what am I to do? And so I know in our state, we've been going through these with our students. Our IDVA teachers are going through these lessons with our students and helping them to understand how to better write. And I think this session will be essential and will help piggyback on top of that in being able to help giving you some tools and some strategies that will work hand in hand with these critical skills assignments and extended problems that are already within your curriculum. So let's go ahead and look here at what you can expect, okay? We can't prepare our students until we know what we're preparing them for, right? So here's an example taken from the online school critical skills assignments. I just took this for a 5th grade. I tried to choose kind of in the middle of the road. And this is a 5th grade example, okay? And what this shows is, excuse me, a story that has the paragraphs listed out so that kids can easily see which paragraph they are referring to in reading a story. So here's the first page of this story. It goes on to talk about leeches, and then it goes on to talk about spiders. And so at the end of this particular assignment, it then goes on to talk about some questions. Now there's a variety of questions that are some fill in the blank or choose the correct answer, you know, kind of questions, which is your best choice kind of questions. But what I want to focus on today are the open-ended questions that the students need to do some writing with. So these are the 2 questions that they are focusing our attention to. A great test-taking skill and technique to teach your students is, okay, as soon as you get the test, I want you to browse through, look at what you're being asked to read. Then you need to look and see what questions are being asked of you. Kind of take it all in before you start to read the story and really get into it. So by doing that, it's going to help them to be able to just kind of start to break things down one at a time. Now, traditionally, students will see 2 to 3 sources that they need to read and then answer questions about each source. Like what you see here, I'm going to show you, I'm going to take you to a website on a web tour here. So let me give you this link. And let me know if this comes across okay. I'm taking you out to our state's test website for our spring state test. And this is similar, like I said, across the country with what students will be exposed to. So let's see here. It looks like it's giving me some problems, so maybe I can do a desktop share instead. Okay. And let me pull that down so I can see my window still. All right. Are you able to see this website? It starts off with student directions. Great. Wonderful. Thank you, Heather. Okay, so here's an example for you of what we got. Do we do the state test online? You know what? The state test, like I said, you need to check with your state and with your teacher, your local school, because you may, I know that a lot of the states are doing the computer adaptive test, and yes, it'll be very similar to what you're seeing here. So if you look here at the student directions, it starts off with the task, and if I were to scroll down and look at this story, I'll try not to go too fast so that the streaming isn't just blurred for you guys. But it starts off with talking about the directions for beginning and then some research questions. And then if you continue scrolling down, it lists here my source number 1. So, you know, an important thing to share with your kids is the vocabulary. It's important to use the kind of vocabulary that the test will be using. For instance, some younger students may not know what the word source means. Instead, if the word story or article was used, they'd be able to go on with the test and not be hung up on that little piece of vocabulary and not sure how to answer the questions. You know what I'm saying? So here in just a minute, I will share with you a file transfer of some vocabulary terms that I would encourage you to print off and keep them by your desk, by your teaching table, and start to incorporate those vocabulary words into your regular teaching day. Because it would be beneficial for them to be familiar with these terms. For instance, right here, using the word source instead of article or story, okay? And so, not that, you know, most gifted kids are going to be able to figure this out and figure out the meaning of the words because they're able to recognize it through the context of the question. However, like I said, I still believe it would be beneficial to print these off and maybe see if there's some words that they may not be familiar with, and you can try to incorporate them into your everyday teaching. So, okay, so here was this first source. I'm going to continue scrolling down for you to be able to see it goes on to different headings within that source. But then this particular example from our state site goes on to another source, source number 2, animals helping people. And then after that, it even continues to go on to a source number 3. So what essentially the student is being asked to do is to read 3 different articles and be able to compare and contrast these articles and write some information about them. If you look over here on the right, these are the questions that they're wanting the student to be able to answer first off, and comparing in each source, 1, 2, and 3. And so, you know, these are just to fill in the blank. People who own businesses have to consider the well-being of all their guests. Did I find that in source 1? I would click it. Did I also find it in source 2? I would click it. Or is it also in source 3? I would click. Okay, so as you continue to go down, then there are some open-ended questions that it's asking. The sources discuss how service animals help people. Explain what you've learned about how service animals help people. Use one detail from source number 1 and one detail from source number 2 to support your explanation. For each detail, include the source, title, or number. So there's a lot of things. That's a pretty meaty question and a lot of stuff that they're asking these kids to do from your 3rd grade up through your high school students. And so depending on the level of you know, is the difficulty, but this is a pretty good example of what you would see. So let me take us back now to my presentation here. And I want to really quickly, before I forget, I'm going to do a file share right now and share with you these vocabulary terms that I think will be beneficial for you. So when these come across, please go ahead and save them either to your desktop, or you can save them somewhere in your My Documents. Save them somewhere that you can find easily later. Okay, academic vocabulary is the first one, and the second one I'm sending you is Common Core vocabulary for math. The first one is for language arts, the second one is for your math. So go ahead and take a minute to save those right now, and then you can print those later on when you have a little bit more time. Okay, a great way of teaching your students to take notes is to follow this 4-square method. This is something that I advise in college, that I've done in my college classes as well as high school in learning how to take notes. This is essential. And it is starting at a younger and younger age that kids need to learn and understand this stuff in order to be college readiness, to be ready for college, as well as being able to compete with the other kids out there that are learning this stuff. You look at other nations, kids are learning this stuff at younger levels. And so I think it's just so important that we jump on board and continue to strive for excellence to help our kids to be able to meet these demands of what they're being expected. Now, a great way of doing that, like I said, is with your 4-square model here. And I also know for myself, I always do better learning something once I do it myself. And so I'd like all of you to get a sheet of paper and try this exercise out. I think it will help you to be actively participating in this and doing this alongside your computer at home with me. And I think then when you walk away from the session, you'll be like, huh, yeah, I can do this. Okay, I can teach this to my student, and making sure that they're understanding how to take notes, how to refer to different sources, and how to regurgitate their own answers based upon the questions that are being asked. Okay. And Brian, you know what, if you have a student that only is 3 weeks in effect, how your son will be prepared for this test, that's why, you know what, one thing is this is fairly new among most of the states. And I know, for instance, in Idaho, they have not even, this year we will get results, but they haven't set those indicators yet to know where kids will be in order for the school to be in good standing. This is still, they are going to be looking at the whole of kids and then setting a baseline to be able to accurately figure out where they're going to be and what is deemed as grade level, what is above or below grade level. And so I think that, you know, definitely, yeah, just go ahead and look at these one thing at a time. And introducing this to your son is a great way to get started. But, you know, you remember a lot of students in all the other schools have not even been introduced to this stuff that are in a lot of brick and mortar schools that I know of. I know my children in the brick and mortar school down the street. This is new stuff to them. And so you are far ahead of the game by just being here at this session today. So, okay, let's look here. Oh, great, Heather's commenting there, some information for me there. Thank you, Heather. Okay, so let's go ahead and you guys have got your paper there, and what I would like you to do is fold your paper into 4s, and I would like you to number it as what you see here on the screen with a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. And then I'd like you to put the questions that this particular test or this particular source, we're going to do this pretty quickly, okay, because I don't, obviously, you guys are not my 5th graders I'm working with as much. This is a parent training. And so this, like I said, what we did is we reviewed the article first here. And for the sake of time, I'm not using multiple sources on this one. But what I'm going to do is give you the same idea here with multiple questions. Okay, so these are the 2 questions we need to know about, and that's why we have them listed here as 1 and number 2. So please put your questions onto the paper before we read the story. And that is something that I think is a great skill for the students to know that, you know, it's good to put this information down so you don't forget it and know what you need to focus on when you start reading the story. Okay? All right. So when you're ready to move on, give me a green check mark, please. Okay, well, there's about half of you, most of you have been able to do that now, and so what we're going to do is we're going to read the story is what we would be the next step that you would instruct your students. Now, for the sake of time, again, I've skipped to the points in the story that are necessary to answer this question. And so that's what we're going to do together. But normally, this is when you would take your student and have them read through the entire story. And we're going to take notes then, specifically on this section here, because it talks about spiders. And the question is asking us, how does spider silk interact with human skin when it is damaged? Use an example from the passage to support your answer. So anytime I would share with my student that it would be important to highlight those specific things when they're reading this, if they see anything that answers this question, how spider silk interacts with human skin. So I'm going to give you guys tools, and I understand that you will all probably be doing this at the same time, but then again, you guys, it will be just fine. I think you can go ahead and take your highlighter tool, and you can, as we read through this, highlight anything that would be answering this question, spider silk interacting with human skin. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. Students need to share an example from the passage to support their answer. So more or less, that's what I'm looking for. So go ahead and take a minute and highlight anything that you see in this reading that would support that answer. I'll go ahead and read out loud because I know that I'm visual and I have to see it and read it at the same time. So here we go. Some people scream or squirm when they walk into a spider web, but scientists are finding that the fine silk these creatures spin may provide medical benefits. The use of spider webs to help heal wounds and clot blood has been found in folklore from 2,000 years ago. The natural materials is said to be stronger than steel. Scientists have found no evidence that spider webs kill germs, but they could be used to help reproduce tissue that has been damaged in common knee injuries. Scientists know all the good spider silk you can do. Spider silk is being developed in a lab. It could be used to stitch up wounds. These stitches will have medication on them. They look like beads on a string. The beads contain glue droplets. Using the material will help wounds heal without leaving any scars. The use of maggots, leeches, and spiders is creepy business, but most patients welcome them, especially if these little healers save their lives. Okay, so you guys have highlighted several important areas that we would want to talk about here. Now, some of them specifically, if we were to look at our paragraph 8, a couple of the things that I would talk to your students about is being able to identify and be able to take notes on the least amount of words that they can use that is going to make sense that they can refer to later. Explaining to them, we wouldn't highlight this entire paragraph because if we did, that's not really taking notes, is it? Taking notes, the whole point is being able to jog your memory and help you to remember things later on and in being able to refer to that specific area. So if we were to look here at, moving on, let me go ahead and take us to the next page. Some of the things that what several of you have highlighted, but I would go ahead and write these down. On to number 1, from question 8 or paragraph 8, these are some important areas. Help heal wounds and clot blood. It could be used to help reproduce tissue that has been damaged in the common knee injuries. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I took from paragraph 8 that I thought definitely answer this about how spider silk interacts with human skin when it's damaged. Now, if we were to carry on and look at going on here to paragraph 9, we could do the same thing and add on a little bit more. You guys already did that with, we could include stitch up wounds. Spider silk could have medication on them. Beads on a string. That could help jog my memory of that. Help wounds heal without scars. Now notice how important it is to be able to have your student refer to the page or the paragraph numbers so that they can easily go back and have that supported from their notes later on. So I think that's something that that is another good tool to be able to help your student with. Okay? Okay, now going from there, I want to have you share with me from these notes that we've taken here on your papers, and if you need to, you can refer back to this page again. But I would like you to now take 3 minutes and formulate an answer. How would you answer this? How would you answer, how does spider silk interact with human skin when it is damaged? You can go ahead and grab another separate scratch piece of paper, and remember, your students should have some scratch paper available to them during the testing. That's not going to be a problem. That will be usually provided at every site. So you can go ahead and take a minute and do that right now, and then we'll come back together, and if anybody's brave enough, they can share their model answer. If not, I've got a model answer here from the test that K-12's put together that I can share out as well. Okay, go ahead and take a few minutes. Okay, all right. We'll go ahead and come back now together. And does anyone want to share what they came up with? Don't be afraid, because you know we're all learning here together. If you would like to, go ahead and raise your hand. All right, Brandy, she's a brave soul. Go ahead and take the mic, Brandy, and share with us what you came up with.
For my daughter, I'm really brave. Can you hear me?
Yes, Brandy, you're coming through just fine. Go ahead. Brandy, I think you didn't click on your mic again. Click on your mic again so we can hear you, because we can't hear you now.
How about now? Is that working now? Is that working now?
Brandy, you must not be able to see us. We're all typing yes. Go ahead and just click on it again, because it's working perfectly. And go ahead and share with us.
Okay, scientists have found no evidence that spider webs kills germs, but they could be used to help reproduce tissue that has been damaged in common knee injuries.
Nice work, Brandy. I like that. Excellent. Very good. All right. Do we have any other brave souls? We do. We have a couple of others. Let's go ahead and give Brandy a round of applause. And let's have Fatima Khan. Do you want to take the mic and share with us? Go ahead.
Hi. Can you guys hear me? Good. Okay. Spider silk help heal wounds and can clot blood, even can kill germs. It also reproduce tissues that have been damaged.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Brandy, Fatima, for sharing with us as well. You guys, I think that this is more simple than what you're thinking this could be. You know what I'm saying? By being able to tackle this task a bit at a time and make it, you look at this humongous sandwich. In order to finish the sandwich, you have to take one bite at a time. And I think that's the biggest portion, so that students are not so afraid of this, by being able to show them how to tackle one thing at a time. And you're not going to finish it in 2 minutes. This is something that we want to see what they know. And so here is, I would like to share with you a, let me take you to the model answer here. And this is an example of what the K-12 came up with, and much of what you guys have said as well. It talks about, according to folklore from 2,000 years ago, spider webs were used to help heal wounds and clot blood. Doctors today have discovered that spider silk can be used to reproduce damaged tissue in common knee injuries. Spider silk is being developed in a lab with beads of medication. The beads contain glue droplets that help wounds heal without leaving any scars. Now, the way that they scored this gives you an example to see what they are expecting, and what somebody who would be scoring your student's response would be watching for something like this. It's worth 2 points, and the answer has to explain how spider silk interacts with human skin when it's damaged, and they need to also receive a point for including an example from the passage to support their answer. And so that gives you an idea of what they are looking for. And like I said, these are located within the curriculum to be able to see these examples. So for the sake of time, let me finish off here with a few more things that we'll continue to look on here. The second question that I mentioned earlier was this one: what evidence does the author provide to support the points she makes about the benefit of leeches? Okay, so asking about what the benefits of leeches are, what you would do then is we would do the exact same kind of idea. We would read the passages on leeches. We would highlight with our student the most important stuff that is indeed answering this question here. And then we would go from there Oh, and Bernie, thank you for your question. It says, I'm missing something. The question asks about interaction with human skin, while the text only refers to human tissue, as I recall. And that would be an inference that the student would need to be able to know what an inference is and being able to read into it deeper than what, you know, the question is asking here. And so yes, that if we go back here to the reading, and it does talk about with that interaction with the human skin, the student would have to read from this and do deeper understanding. Yes, there's two-part questions and two-part answers. Yes, there are, okay? And that's where I'm continuing on here with the part for number 2, okay? So in looking at part number 2, it would ask us about leeches, and we would do the reading in leeches, and we would, again, document our notes, which paragraphs we're reading and what specific things we could put right here that have to do with answers to this specific question. You would work with your student through that. And for the sake of time, again, I'm going to go ahead and move on with the next portion, or the next step, like you said, of part 2 of the question. There's another, oftentimes, a part 3 of the question that oftentimes is asking you to compare sources. So this same exact article then has the students read this other source called Dr. Fish. And let's say you would have already filled this information out with what was necessary, and I'm going to leave this blank for you guys to do this part on your own. But now the question is asking us, how does the structure used in the explanation of the animals in creepy crawly healers differ from that in Dr. Fish? Again, using that vocabulary term, helping kids understand, but more or less this is talking about what's the differences. We can compare and contrast our two sources that we're reading. Now there's a couple of different ways that they can cite or show details from each passage. They can go ahead and read through and make sure that they are looking at the structure of that story and seeing how the structure or the story is set up and comparing that structure with, after they've done that through through their structure in creepy crawly healers, they could do it then for structures in Dr. Fish. Now, that's one way of doing it. I'm a visual learner, and because of that, I like to show myself a Venn diagram. And using something as simple as having your student do 2 circles on the whole bottom part of their square, they could put creepy crawly healers over here and the title of Dr. Fish over here, and what's the same about both sources here. I think that this would be an excellent way to be able to compare and to compile my information and my notes as I read back through those 2 sources. Now let me share with you what, and this is just an up-close picture of what it is here, but let me share with you the model answer that they came up with and what they were looking for. So first off, the answer describes how the structure used in the explanations of the animals in creepy crawly healers differs from that in Dr. Fish. That's one point. And it includes a detail from each passage to support the answer. And then 1 point each for 1 detail from each passage. So there's 2 different passages. And then also that they were able to describe the structure used in and how it differs from one another. Okay, so let's read through this so you have an idea of it. The creepy crawly healers and Dr. Fish passages are different in the way the creatures are presented and how each passage is structured. Creepy crawly healers presents information in a problem and solution. Structure. Dr. Fish, on the other hand, presents information in a compare and contrast structure. In creepy crawly healers, the author talks about 3 different animals, maggots, leeches, and spiders, that are used to heal people. Each animal is presented in its own section. The author describes how each animal has provided a solution to problems people have with wounds that won't heal. The author also discusses how these creatures have provided solutions to medical problems that modern methods have been unable to achieve. In Dr. Fish, only the Gararufa fish are presented. In contrast to the animals and creepy crawly creatures, or healers, The Garurusa fish are used primarily for cosmetic purposes in pedicures. However, the author presents information about a study that was conducted on people with psoriasis. But despite the apparent success in helping to relieve symptoms of psoriasis, the practice of fish to pedicures has been banned in 14 states because of the threat of infection and unsafe practices. So, in understanding what they are looking for here as a model answer, can you see how this Venn diagram would help your student to collect that information and then take this information that they wrote out to help them be able to come up with something here like this? And I know, Utah Klein, it does seem quite stretching for a 5th grade answer, I know. But again, if we're teaching to these standards, kids are only going to have something to try to reach for, right? And I think, why teach students something that's below grade level? Teach them things that they can achieve to. And this is what a model answer of the standards that they would like to see with a student. But of course, it's also important to know that, you know, this answer is not that there has to be one correct thing for it. A student could come up with something completely different, and maybe it was only in 2 paragraphs. It was a lot shorter, but still receive a 3-point answer, and maybe, or 3 points to that question, and it may be because they were able to touch upon these 3 things. And as long as they did that, that's still going to be 3 points that was out of 3 points possible. And they still could be able to achieve that model answer, okay? So remember that this is not the exact correct answer. There's multiple answers that could be awarded, or that could be work for this, okay? And yeah, being able to be more wordy is, I think, the key here. Being able to help your student look at the notes that they were able to take from this information and then elaborate on it. Talk to them about grammar, usage, and mechanics, descriptive language, and being able to sort or to cite their examples. I think all of that together is very, very important to be able to share. Okay, moving right along, points to ponder. Please share, take a minute to get into the chat box or into the microphone, and please share what was interesting about this process to you. Is there anything that surprised you? How could you use this process in other things you are working on with your children in the curriculum or in terms of independent study? So go ahead and take a minute to do that right now, please. And Heather, I will let you facilitate that for a second. I just got to, my daughter is coming to the door right now, and I need to get her really quick. So I'll let you facilitate that, Heather, and I will jump right back in just a second.
All right, yeah, so does anybody have any suggestions out there of how you guys could do that? Yes, so Brandy, you brought up a really good point. There's going to be more than one answer. And I did put in the chat earlier, too, something to really keep in mind is that all the tests that we've even looked at, math and reading, there's multiple questions to, I guess that really might not make sense. There's multiple parts to one question. And we are trying to train our students to really take those step by step because it's super important to look at that. The curriculum online does have these. Now, one thing that Carly, I didn't hear her say, but if you, for instance, if you've been with your school for a little while, just a reminder, if you promoted early last year, so let's say your student was a 3rd grader and got finished with their curriculum in March, and so you got moved up to 4th grade language arts, and that's what you've been working on this year, you won't have the new standards in there, those worksheets, those enriched learning curriculum in there. So just keep that in mind too, that some of you might be like, what? I don't have this. It's just because you're still working on last year's curriculum. So as soon as you promote, you'll get the new curriculum, the next grade level, and it has those questions in there. So let me just look at these questions, sorry. Yep, good. That's a great one. I like that. Going and finding comprehensive answers in an organized manner. You betcha. That's one thing that as a mom I've had to learn to do better, because if you're like me, I wasn't brought up this way. I didn't even learn to teach this way until the last couple of years, and it's definitely taken me a lot of training. And your student as well will have to take some training as well of how to look at these and how to approach them. So that's a really great thing to do. Yep, problem solution structure versus compare and contrast articles. That's excellent. My student will not be so specific and will probably have to work on these skills a lot longer time. Absolutely. And that's pretty normal. So just so you know, that's a pretty normal thing. I don't want you guys to feel discouraged, and that's why Carly really wanted to do this class, because we feel as parents, we're both parents, it's so, and we like to know. So when you're teaching, you're able to say, okay, let's stop here and let's dig a little bit deeper in this, and kind of modeling and teaching them that. So, oh, go ahead, Carly. Carly is back.
No worries, Heather. No, I appreciate what you're saying, and that's, I apologize that I had to step away for a second. So what you were sharing was perfect. And yeah, Brandy, you say that you feel like you need more help with this. And so one thing that I'm happy to share out is what are critical skills and math assignments. Heather, maybe if you want to pull, we have these for 3rd through 5th grade, and I don't currently have my 6th through 8th grade ones, but if this is something you are interested for the 3rd through 5th grade skills assessments that K-12 put out, we're happy to share those out right now. Then you would have some additional practice sheets to be able to work on. And also use that website that I sent you guys to. It is our state website that has these exact same thing. And it actually, they have 3rd through 12th grade, I believe, on our state website with examples of what you're seeing today that we did, okay? So I would encourage you guys to take an opportunity to read through those things and to, like I said, take one bite of that sandwich, one at a time, and work on the little things. If they're being introduced to this and you're working on being able to formulate answers to open-ended questions now, and you're doing this up till March and you're presenting this maybe one thing a day with them, they're going to be so much better prepared when they walk in to that session and that testing situation than they would be without it. So I think this is a fabulous opportunity for you guys to take advantage of. Amanda says, I like the note-taking before trying to answer the question. I think allowing them to gather thoughts and will make writing process easier. I also like the suggestion of making sure their writing is very descriptive to allow for clarity. Thank you. Wonderful. Yes. And then Heather, yes, I think they're saying they would like those resources. So if you don't mind sending the assessment answer keys that we have in work sample form, you know, that we have in our work sample document that we did for Edmodo this year, that'd be awesome, Heather. And if not, I can find those real quickly if you don't have them either. So thank you, Heather. You're awesome. Okay, Ramona says the process is informative, but my gosh, it is extremely overwhelming. I picked up very great tools here, but my 4th grader is not this advanced as far as his writing finds the writing very hard. He is struggling on the critical skills assessment. Hey, and you know what? Please don't stress about it, because like I said, it's something that being able to take one thing at a time and just biting off a little bit that you feel like you can do today. Just practicing one of the open-ended question responses today, I think would better prepare your student than you know, anything, because you're just being able to bite off one thing at a time. And as you practice with it, it's like with anything else, practice makes perfect, and they're going to become better and better and stronger and stronger. And so use the things that we're sharing today and start to just tackle those a little bit at a time. Let's see. And yes, we can resend that math vocabulary again. Okay, some states are in March, some are April, some are May. It just depends, Brian. I would definitely check with your homeroom teacher. They will be able to let you know what state tests and what type of a format you will be expected to be able to do in for your students, okay? Remember, we're nationwide here, and so, oh, Klein, you guys said yours are in February, okay? And yes, Tina, most of them are taken at a testing site. I know that all of our students at IDVA are taken at a testing site. I believe students with special ed accommodations may have special accommodations, but it would still be at a site that a coordinator would be there to facilitate the test. Brandy, yes, you know what, enjoying what they're reading. I refer you to our website at the beginning of the session here that I will share out. One more thing before we do. I'm going to refer you to this website that you're going to want to go to. And I will get that and put that into the chat box for you because we have past parent trainings that I've done that are on asynchronous reading and gifted kids and being able to help them enjoy the things that they're reading. So I'll be happy to share that with you. Before I do, let me do one more file share here. And this file share is frequently asked questions and answers with the Common Core standards. Okay, remember how I was talking at the beginning, how Common Core standards affect our gifted students? And this is an excellent website, the nagc.org. I would encourage you to read through it. That I'm going to send you the file right now. And check out that website. If you have not already seen the NAGC website, it is a wealth of knowledge. It stands for the National, I believe, Academy of Gifted, I don't know the actual acronym now that I'm thinking about it. We can pull that up and look at it right now. But I just always go to the nagc.org sites and for gifted and talented. Okay, let me also go ahead and give you this file transfer and then I will find that information for you. It's hard to multitask everything at one time. Okay, so somebody asked for the academic vocabulary again. That's what I'm sending right now. And then here is your Common Core vocab for math. And lastly, this is the Common Core and Gifted recommendations. That article is a PDF article that I think would be very useful for you. And so, yeah. And then Heather sent it out. Heather, did you send out for the language too, or did you just send out for math? Let me scroll down. Oh, great. Thank you, Heather. Okay. All right. Let's see if there's any other questions. Patrina says, last year when my kids were introduced to this type of test, they felt overwhelmed. They attended all the classes offered last year to help prepare them and did the sample tests online. When they did the actual test last year, they both thought it was a breeze. So practice does help to alleviate the stress of the test. You're awesome, Patrina. Thank you so much for sharing that. I totally agree with you. It's just taking it step by step and encouraging you and your kids that, you know what, yeah, this feels like a mountain we're climbing, but step by step is how you do it. So thank you so much for sharing that. Bernie says, one thing that has helped in extreme cases of resistance to reading is to read together, alternating reading individual words and switching 2 words each. It makes it fun and challenging. Thanks, Bernie. And making sure you're finding appropriate books for them, that they are finding a genre they like. Go to your librarian. There are a wealth of knowledge that I think are totally underused. I bet you would be surprised how much your librarian could probably hook you onto some wonderful resources. But I definitely want you to check out this website right here. Let me get that link for you again. Let me hurry and pull it up so it's in your chat box for you. Because that website, scroll through it. I've done like I said, a past parent training on reading with gifted kids. Asynchronous reading is the title of it. And what that means basically is that, you know, a lot of times we have younger gifted students that are reading way above their grade level and some things aren't appropriate for them, but I go into a lot more detail in that session, not just on the asynchronous reading, but other things that you can find appropriate books that are good for, that you could use at all grade levels, and some other search engine tools that are nice to use as well. So I encourage you to that. Okay, Brian, so you do not see the language arts, just math? Okay, let me look here. And let me make sure I have these questions answered here. So let me do one more file transfer of the language arts, I think is what they're requesting. Okay. All right, required work samples. Now these are the answer keys, and I'll send those across to you right now too. And if there's any other questions out there, we're happy to stay on a few more minutes to answer for you. Otherwise, you guys, our session is over, and we would just love to be able to share out any other or answer any other questions that you may have at this time. So go ahead and take a minute. You can either type it into the chat or ask it on the microphone. It might be easier that way, so that we make sure we answer everybody's questions before we leave. So other than that, thank you everyone, and take care. Good luck, and keep moving forward. Just keep swimming, okay? Just keep swimming. You can do it. All right, Angie, do you have a question? Go ahead and take the mic. Yes, you asked a question about me of why I send my kids to traditional school. One of the things as a teacher, we are not allowed to teach our students and teach for the Virtual Academy. I love our curriculum and everything that is within our Idaho Virtual Academy, but I have to work financially, and so because of that, it's something that is a choice that we've had to make. But I think I love that there is options and school choice out there, which I am a huge advocate for. Okay, let's see what other questions. Is there an online program with K-12 that is for gifted children or honors level performing child? Within your own school, whoever gave you the invite, Imran from WAVA, within your own school, check with your homeroom teacher, because there should be opportunities that are being forwarded to you from K-12, as well as there may be options or additional opportunities with your homeroom teacher that they may be providing. So check with them and see what your school does provide. Every school is a little bit different, but the way things are moving, we're continuing to offer more and more. So any other questions?